inspirational women I wish I'd been taught about in school. When I first heard this phrase, I racked my brains through my own history education, and I thought of Hitler and Stalin and Lenin and Bismarck, and I was really hard pushed to find many women. Now, I'm lucky enough to work in a job where I come across young people and have conversations with them every single day, and something that I've realised is how important role models are. And we can't expect more women to go into male-dominated industries unless they can see people within those roles and take inspiration from them. Now, there's absolutely no reason why all of these role models have to come from the present. So I think, in the spirit of 100 years of votes for women, that it's time to start looking at the past for inspiration as well. Now, the first woman I've chosen to talk about is one I only came across fairly recently in a recent attempt to squeeze every last drop of my young person National Trust membership before it tragically expires next year. And that was a place in Derbyshire called Hardwick Hall. Now, as you walk up the drive, you're instantly struck by how weirdly big the windows are. Now, it's a 16th century building and they look really out of place. But as I walked around the building and I learnt the story of the woman who built it, I knew I had to publicise her story because she's just nowhere near well known enough. And that woman is Bess of Hardwick. Now, Bess was born in about 1527 into a lower gentry family, but by the time of her death in 1608, she was the second richest woman in the country and a countess, second only to Elizabeth I. So, how did she achieve this? Well, it was a combination of factors, but she used the main way women could elevate their socio-economic status in 16th century Britain, and that is of course through marriage. So with each of her 4 marriages, Bess elevated her wealth. But it wasn't just through being given this wealth by these men. She was also incredibly shrewd and had amazing business sense. So much so that her third husband, William St Lo, actually left all of his money and all of his wealth and all of his estates to Bess on his death, which in 16th century terms is pretty unprecedented. You'd normally leave any wealth, any money to your closest male relative. Now, Bess was not only remarkable for this business-like strength, what I've liked learning about her most is how generous and kind-hearted she was. She didn't amass this wealth by being mean and miserly, it was just by being careful. So there's hints in her records that she left hundreds and hundreds of pounds to grandchildren and to tenants and to anybody that needed her help. But I think what I love most about her is the windows in Hardwick Hall and why they're there. Bess's 4th and final marriage to the Earl of Shrewsbury broke down because they were forced to imprison Mary Queen of Scots. They were given this great honour by Elizabeth I as trusted members of the court. But as George and Mary Queen of Scots allegedly started an affair and the marriage with Bess broke down, she actually ended up losing quite a lot of her property. But she did extract some of her wealth and she used that to build Hardwick Hall. She put in these enormous windows because glass was an expensive commodity, and she could proclaim to the world that she had done what so few women could in the 16th century and build a huge amount of wealth and fortune. Now that is why the locals coined a phrase, Hardwick Hall, more glass than wall. So if you'd like to know a little bit more about Bess, and I would recommend that you do, this book is my favourite. It's called Bess, First Lady of Chatsworth, and it's by Mary Lovell. If you're like me though and you're a big fan of historical fiction, look out for Philippa Gregory's book called The Other Queen. That's a really good one. And there's also fantastic articles on the Daily Telegraph and programmes on BBC Radio 4 as well. So, I hope you enjoyed my first video. I'm going to come back and probably do one next on Caroline Norton. But let me know what you think, and thank you.